Welcome back to the Arbor League. I'm Arbor Andy, and today we're going to be taking a look at a team that has been doing well for me in the 2300s and that I used last season. But the catch is, this season, everyone that I've encountered was building teams almost entirely weak to Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini is a fairy water-type Pokemon, and with its bulk, can operate as a nice safe swap where you can either soft lose or take back switch. So let's hop into the matches and take a look at Tapu Fini in the Open Ultra League. Hopping into the first match, pretty positive lead up against the Empoleon. Our double kicks are doing super effective damage, and the opponent safe swaps into a Shadow Grand Bull. The opponent, probably wanting to maintain switch, probably wants to preserve this Shadow Grand Bull, so I'm going to bait with a Sacred Sword, and they don't fall for it. So we're going to build back up to a Sacred Sword and safe swap into Primarina. We are behind on energy, and Shadow Grand Bull is scary. On the bright side, we resist all of the standard charge moves thrown from Shadow Grand Bull. It's going to be a crunch. Doesn't do that much damage, but it is Shadow, but we get the charm down and take back switch. That Empoleon does want to come back in and look for the farm down, which they do get. This is totally okay with me, as we can realign the Cobalion onto the Empoleon. We have a Sacred Sword, but we throw one double kick in the middle of their waterfall and throw the Sacred Sword. This is going to be doing some heavy super effective damage if they don't shield, but they do, which is good. They will fire off the Hydro Cannon, and I will commit a shield in return because this Hydro Cannon might be KO on Cobalion, and we throw one more double kick and get to the Sacred Sword. We will outpace them to the next move, so they will have to double shield if they want to keep the alignment. They do shield the Empoleon, which means something might be weak to Cobalion in the back. So I am willing to commit another shield here. We will outpace to the next move. So we throw one more double kick and get to the Sacred Sword, and this will be KOing the Empoleon. We threw it in the middle of the waterfall so they couldn't switch. Sacred Sword takes out the Empoleon, and the final Pokemon is a Sylveon. And because we switch at the same time, this will be a race to the Moonblast. Moonblast will be doing some heavy neutral damage to whoever gets there first. We get to the Moonblast first, and this Moonblast will be getting this Sylveon extremely low. Tapu Fini just about KOs Sylveon, and they're going to get to their next Moonblast here. This will be KOing Tapu Fini from this range. We'll just have to see if we can double kick down with Cobalion. Moonblast taking out the Tapu Fini. Can we double kick down? Cobalion survives two more charms and gets the double kick down. And we beat Empoleon double charm. Bit of a tricky lead in the next one, Cobalion into Virizion. This is a negative match for us because their Sacred Swords are going to be doing super effective, where ours are going to be doing neutral to them. So I built up to our Sacred Swords, tried to catch, and failed, and now we're just going to have to hope that this Virizion does not have Leaf Blade. Time of truth, we can let one go through. Do they have Leaf Blade? They do not. They have Sacred Sword and Stone Edge as a safe swap into Walrein. We can do okay here as we are ahead on energy, and we can tank one Earthquake from Walrein. Moonblast. Do they decide to shield? They do not, and it does over half health to Walrein, and they're going to fire off their Earthquake. Tapu Fini is pretty bulky, and Earthquake is non-stab, so I'm going to let this one through because we resist the Powder Snows as well, and this next serve will be taking out the Walrein if they don't decide to shield. And honestly, at this range, we can tank an Icicle Spear even if they decide to fire it off. Serve, getting the first shield from the Walrein. Looks like they want to take switch. So they're going to fire off an Icicle Spear, and I will shield in return. We are low enough at this point where an Icicle Spear will KO, but we can get to the next turf before they get to their Icicle Spear and hopefully get their second shield or take out the Walrein and maintain switch. And Tapu Fini has done its job. We can come back in with Cobalion and farm down. But they let it go through, and the Walrein goes down. Both of us doing resisted damage to each other. Can we get to the next serve? And we fall just short. And this is actually okay for us. Now that we know that Virizion doesn't have Leaf Blade, we can safely come in with the Primarina and look for the charm down. Not before they get to a move though. We can take a Stone Edge from full health, but they bait with the Sacred Sword and safe swap back into Charizard. At this point, they're down shields, and we resist their Dragon Breaths. They don't have Fire Spin or Air Slash, which does neutral. We bait with the Sacred Sword, and the Charizard doesn't shield. This is risky here. This is going to be the Blast Burn, so we have to respect the damage coming from the Charizard here, because it will one-shot us, and it was the Blast Burn. So we're going to build back up to almost another Stone Edge, and we will outpace them to the next Stone Edge. So we're going to go here and throw the Charge move and see what they decide to do. Charizard lets it go through, one-shots the Charizard, and the Virizion comes back in. The opponent still has to respect the damage coming from this Sacred Sword because it does neutral damage, and we're not a move at Primarina. Virizion lets it go through, and it was a CMP tie. Truth time. How much does their Sacred Sword do to us? Cobalion barely hangs on deep in the red. We come in with Primarina and snipe with the charm. Pretty neutral lead in the next one. Cobalion into Tapu Koko. Our double kicks are resisted, but on the bright side, Tapu Koko only has nuke moves and we can hit for some heavy neutral damage with Stone Edge. It will not one-shot. The opponent will have to shield this if they want to preserve the Tapu Koko. Tapu Koko lets it go through and they get deep in the red after we build back up to our Sacred Sword. We get to another Sacred Sword as they're going to be firing off a move. We're going to have to respect the damage. Good shield on our part as it was the Brave Bird as they pivot into Virizion and catch our Sacred Sword. This is going to do some nice chip damage as we're about to make another crazy play. We pivot into Primarina hoping that they don't have Leaf Blade again. Even if they do, we can survive one. Truth time. Does Virizion have Leaf Blade? It is a Stone Edge and we can take one. Getting Primarina pretty low, but we can Charm down and take back Switch. Tapu Koko will want to come back in and look for that farm down, but they're forced to throw energy or else the charm we snuck through will KO. Tapu Koko actually goes for the Brave Bird. The Thunderbolt would have sufficed, but lowering their defense gives us less farm with whatever we come in with. We come in with the Tapu Fini. Water Gun as a one-turn fast move will KO before the Volt Switch registers, and we're met with a Regice. Now Regice is a wild card. He can learn Thunder, Earthquake, and Focus Blast and can hit the rest of our team with super effective damage, so they will commit a shield. And because Cobalion has a better matchup against Regice, I'm actually willing to let Tapu Fini go down here. Moment of truth, and it is the Earthquake, so we will survive one more. So I'm just going to go for the Hail Mary and try to get to the Moonblast. Tapu Fini here actually survives another Earthquake from Regice. So we're going to try to get to the Moonblast, but I get nervous and go for the Surf. Hopefully this will be getting the second shield from that Regice. Surf does a bit of chip damage before we go down, and we come in with Cobalion. The opponent doesn't want to play the ones behind on health and energy and concedes the match. Fantastic lead in the next match, greeted into Cobalion. The opponent will want to safe swap into the Dragonite. We still resist the Dragon Breath, but we're going to pivot into Primarina. Super effective charms, just shredding the Dragonite. Dragonite, gonna fire off a move. It's just gonna be the Dragon Claw. We heavily resist that. We throw one more charm, and the opponent concedes the match. My guess is that it was another double Dragon team. Up against Tapu Fini in our next match. This time, we want to swap into the mirror and hopefully line up the Primarina with Tapu Fini. This is going to be a race to the Moonblast, but because we swapped in, they're a turn ahead, so they will get to the Moonblast before we do. We have to let it go through, but it will do some heavy neutral damage to us. Moonblast does about 3/4 of our health, and we get ours off too, but the opponent made an amazing catch under their Gengar. Honestly, that looked like a CMP tie to me, but they decide to shield their Gengar instead. They also get the debuff. Tapu Fini makes another Surf, and they will be forced to double shield Gengar because Gengar is an absolute glass cannon. It is so squishy. Tapu Fini takes 2 shields from Gengar as it goes down. Totally okay with me. We can go for the Stone Edge on Cobalion and get rid of this Gengar. I will commit 1 shield though because it could be a potential Focus Blast. Just going to be a Shadow Punch. Gengar has also been debuffed, so we can take this next one, even if it's a Shadow Ball, but it's just going to be another Shadow Punch. It does nothing to Cobalion, and we get to our Stone Edge. But it's a CMP tie. This was too quick to be anything other than a Shadow Punch, so we don't need to shield this either. Shadow Punch not doing that much damage to Gengar, and this Stone Edge will be taking out the Gengar once and for all. Stone Edge coming through. Goodbye, Gengar. And they want to come in with Tapu Fini, which we have perfect alignment with in Primarina. We will have to shield 1 Moonblast though, because that Moonblast will be doing a solid amount of neutral damage to the Primarina, so we just have to hope that we don't get the debuff either. Tapu Fini doesn't get the debuff, they don't want to get charmed down, and there's a Cobalion in the back, and they're actually running a similar team to us with another Cobalion Tapu Fini core. Moonblast doing a solid amount of neutral damage to the Cobalion because of their partial fighting type, and they're able to make a Stone Edge. Even if this is an Iron Head, it will do neutral damage because of Primarina's part water type, but it's just another Stone Edge. We can still tank that, and they get charmed down. Tapu Fini comes back in to get a resisted water gun farm down, and we just have to hope that we can either double kick down or reach a move before they do. Tapu Fini is not able to reach the move, and we double kick down a fairy type. Getting that 5-0 there with this team, having a ton of fun with it, maybe give it a try, is doing a little bit of climbing there as you can see, but we've got a bonus battle for you. wanted to showcase this next one because it gave me a bit of a chuckle, and shout out to the Herb420, into an Obstagoon. So our whole team beats Obstagoon, so we pivot into Tapu Fini. They build up to a Night Slash, and they're absolutely core broken by Tapu Fini as they swap into a Giratina here. We're going to go straight for the Moonblast. There's no need for baiting. Giratina lets it go through and does about over 3/4 of their health, and they're at a charge move. They can only throw resisted Dragon Claws here or go for the Ancient Power boost, which they do. It does neutral damage. They don't get the boost, and we're going to get off this next Surf and hopefully take out the Giratina. They are low enough. They are deep in the red, so they will have to shield this if they want to maintain Switch. They let it go through, and we take back Switch. We're going to see what the opponent decides to come in with here. And they come in with Charizard, and Tapu Fini absolutely wrecks all three of this Pokemon. This gave me a pretty good chuckle here because we were doing super effective with the Surfs, with the water guns. So we still have 2 shields here. They've already used the shield, and I'm going to decide, you know what, even if it's a Dragon Claw, I don't care. We're going to get this water gun damage off right away, and even here, I'm calling another Dragon Claw bait. The wing attacks are neutral, so they could possibly wing attack down. They do not, as we get to another Surf, catch on the Primarina. So we've almost banked a Surf here, and this Obstagoon is just going to have a bad time. I mean, Charizard resists the charms because of the fire type here, but on the flip side, we resist all the fire and all the dragon types, and we resist the dark types. Obstagoon throws a Night Slash, but to no avail. They get almost charmed down, but they're going to throw another move here, and even if we survive here, we can come in and double kick down with the Cobalion. We barely hang on with a sliver of health, and we get wing attack down. But this is good night for Charizard because we're at a Surf with the Tapu Fini. And even if they decide to shield here, we can come in and farm down with Cobalion. We've still got a shield. Going to wait out the switch clock a bit here. We throw one more double kick, and they're out of move. Shield up the Blast Burn here. It's an obvious Blast Burn. There's no need to bait. Opponent goes for the Dragon Claw, but they didn't make it. We double kick down the Flyer, and that is a good game. I had a ton of fun running this team. It is a double fairy, but Tapu Fini with Water Gun can get to charge moves at a decent pace, has decent bulk, and has play against Pokemon that would otherwise resist Charm. If you enjoyed the video, leave a comment and consider liking and subscribing. It really helps out the channel and helps build the community. So thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Arbor Andy, and I'll see you in the next one.